everyone. I'm Kathleen, and today Larry and I are here with Mary Kathryn Walston. Hi, Mary Kathryn.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Mary.
So good to see you. So good to see you. And I always do this at the beginning. I try to remember when we first met. And I know it's been, well, you just told me your child was 15, and I knew you way before that. Yeah. And I don't know exactly what show it was or how we came to meet each other.
I don't know either. I think I just knew you at the theater. I started doing things at RLT in '96.
Oh, okay. So that was.
And but was it Miss Nelson was our first show?
Our first show together, maybe.
The first time?
The first time. Miss Nelson the first time.
Yes.
Yes.
But of course I knew you and had done camps and things there, but that's the first thing I think that we actually worked together on officially.
Miss Nelson is missing. Yeah, Larry, Mary Kathryn taught classes and camps and, you know, was a face you saw all the time at RLT. Right. So I just always, you've always just been in my RLT life, so I couldn't remember, but that makes a lot of sense.
I've seen your name for years, and I had lived in Raleigh a few years and then went back to Wilmington, then came back and started doing theater again in '96. So you and I started back at RLT about the same time.
Yeah, but we've never done a show together.
Because I can't sing.
You can, don't say that.
I can do a good Star is Born Bradley Cooper imitation, which I will not do today.
Nice. Very nice. So Mary Kathryn, I know that you are very, very musical. And when did you first get into this whole, the acting, the singing, or were you born singing, or like, when did it first happen for you?
Some say I was. I need to think about that. And I remember, I mean, probably like a lot of people, my first stage experience or whatever was at church, in a church production. I remember it was some kind of, I was 5 years old, and it was some kind of thing like just biblical stories. I don't even know. And in 1975, I had very long hair. Like for a little tiny 5-year-old, my hair was almost to my knees.
Oh.
And so of course they looked at me and was like, oh, you should be Eve. So my grandmother made me this leopard skin off the shoulder little dress because I couldn't really be Eve in the church. And then my long hair, and I had to walk very high up on this platform across in front of everybody. And I was scared to death. I didn't have to say anything. I just had to walk, and someone else was narrating. And it was terrifying because I was so shy, but it was also very thrilling at the same time, because after that, a lot of older kids and just adults recognized me, and they would come up and talk about how cute I was in my little leopard outfit. And so I think just something like kind of sparked then. And then I didn't have a whole lot of experiences. I mean, they would come here and there for me as far as acting. It was always the singing. Just the singing always came easy to me. Always in the choirs, always wanting to have a solo, always wanting to do that. And that was kind of my pathway, I guess, into all of this, if that makes sense.
Yes. I have to tell you, though, that Linda O'Day Young has a similar story about when she was in elementary school. She every year played Mother Mary. And I said, oh my gosh, that's pretty good. That's, you know, wow. And she said, it was only because my mother made the costume.
Oh.
See, sometimes, you know, but whatever gets you, whatever
gets you out there on the stage.
What was after you went through grade school and high school, what was the first show you were officially in?
You know, it wasn't until college, honestly. I had kind of dipped my toe a little bit in things. We lived in Kentucky for 6 years, and I was in a small private school. And my freshman year, we had a new teacher there that was trying to start like a drama club kind of thing, and had aspirations of us doing actually productions. And he was kind of putting together some little vignettes and little scenes and stuff like that, and had me do some things, and spoke to me after one of them and said, you know, please be in my program. You really have some ability and I really want to work with you. And I said, well, we're moving. So I can't. And it was a very important moment for me, because the acting part of this is not ever something I really thought I could do. The singing I always knew I could do and could get better, necessarily the acting. And then, unfortunately, when we moved from there to Walston, North Carolina, very near here, excellent choir there, which, you know, I attribute to what I do today, of course, but we had no drama program. Apparently the drama teacher had just left and they didn't replace her. And I'm like, oh, that's brilliant. And so I didn't really get that opportunity in high school. And it wasn't until college, being a voice major, you know, I had to kind of piece that together and take some acting classes and stuff. But I spent a summer in Brevard and was part of their, like, they call it an opera program, but we did musicals too. Yeah. And that was kind of the first time I was like, okay, this is really what I want to do. I'm on a path for opera, but this theater thing is really pulling at me. And just the way that some of the instructors and teachers talked to me there just made me realize, okay, I got to take a second look at this, because I think this is part of what I perhaps should be doing. So, I mean, to answer your question in a very crazy long way, it was college, really, just that's kind of summer of productions. We did like 6 shows in that one little span of time.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I can't even imagine. I don't even know how that happened now.
Yeah.
Like, that makes me so tired.
When you're young, you can do anything.
Like, wow, okay.
Did you have a mentor when you started out?
It's hard to say that I had a mentor. I thought about that question too. And I think it's more, I feel like there was more people who just kind of happened in my life or were put in my life that led me and encouraged me. The people along the way that said, hey, you have something, you know, don't back away from this. You need to develop this. So many moments that happened to me. And that summer at Brevard, the choreographer, you know, I had not taken dance class since I was a little bitty girl, and stopped because it got too serious. You know, I just wanted to play. And this woman was like, no, you can dance. Like, you need to develop this. You can dance. Like, you can do this. And then one of the other instructors, the guy who was kind of assigned to me as my voice teacher, just one day, instead of working on the classical stuff, he said, well, what else do you have? Do you want to do some musical theater songs? I said, well, sure, let's do that. And he just stopped. And I don't even remember what I was singing, but he just said, Mary Kathryn, you have to realize that you sing this with a whole different level of emotion and connection than you sing all this other stuff. It's not about what your voice is good for. This is like a whole different connection for you. He said, you cannot deny this. You have got to work on this and pursue this. I mean, and here's someone who really was supposed to be guiding me on an opera path. And so, you know, like, technically he was going in the other direction, but I really appreciate his honesty, and I just carried that with me. And I think probably that was a lot of what encouraged me to actually kind of pursue it and kind of push the classical stuff to the side a little bit. I mean, you know, I still did, but I wanted to. I
know exactly what you mean. I can't sing, but I still get chills. When I was in my 20s doing theater and doing a lot of musicals, I fell in love with so many women who just sang from their soul. I mean, I still get chills thinking about my friends singing at the ballet when we did Chorus Line in '86. That's just a beautiful song. And I just remember how I felt when I would hear those voices sing that song. It's wonderful.
Yes. Do you remember any great advice that you got once you started on your musical theater journey? Any one bit of advice that sticks out from someone? Or?
There's not, I don't think there was a specific person who told me a certain thing. I have certainly been inspired by a lot of people. I've learned a lot just by watching really good people on stage, being in shows with people. And someone, I don't even remember who, encouraged me early on to, be present in rehearsals. It's like, just because your song or your number or your scene or whatever is not being worked on right now, really watch what other people are doing, how the director is working with them, how they are taking that direction, what are they creating. Like, pay attention to that, because you're going to learn from that, and that's just going to help your character and what, your connection to the show and your involvement in all of that. And that made a huge difference for me. And it is watching people like Kevin Ferguson, being on stage with him, watching him teaching with him. Rob Jenkins is another one that I have befriended and done shows with and taught with, that I just love to watch them work, not only themselves as actors, but how they communicate what they do to other people has helped me as a performer. And I just hold on to those things all the time.
And I know you tell people in our shows, in the cast, watch everybody, watch what's going on here. Don't just sit in the corner and read a book. This is your time to learn. So.
I mean, it is. I think it's just so easy, especially for the young ones. They're like, oh, good. I have like 30 minutes where I can not pay attention, and you can't stop paying attention.
No.
Just can't.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite actor or singer in theater and films?
Well, for theater, I mean, I have a few, but Patti LuPone is one of my favorites. And part of that is because this was kind of another theater spark for me, not like a show that I was in, but a show that I saw. It's one of my first memories of seeing a musical. I was in 5th grade, and my school, we took a field trip to Chicago.
Oh.
So this was a production of Evita in Chicago. So I don't know if it had moved like straight from Broadway there, like if that had been that path, because this was 1980. And so of course it was not Patti. But I saw this production, and that's a pretty like heavy show for 10-year-olds to go see. I mean, like, really? But a lot of that went over my head. But I remember just being so entranced with everything about it. And I still have visual memories of it, and came home and begged my parents for the record and memorized the whole thing and sat there and sang along with Patti and like tried to sing like her in my 10-year-old voice. And so she is someone that I've always held up just for her acting and her voice. Of course, Barbara Streisand, of course, Bernadette Peters, those people, the big names, but they're big for a reason. They're big for their abilities, but also their just, I think their dedication to the work too. Always inspired. Meryl Streep would be my film person. I mean, I know she's the one for a lot of people, just her ability to completely, what I think is completely transform herself from role to role, where you just kind of forget, oh, well, that's the same person that played this role too. That's amazing. Like, just, she completely immerses herself. And that is very, very inspiring. Very inspiring.
Well, you talk about dedication. And when I was in high school, there was a girl I knew also in high school, and she wanted to go to Juilliard. I mean, she was pretty amazing, and she babied her voice. So if she got the slightest cold, she stayed home. She never went out if it was really bad weather, because that was her instrument, and she was saving it and she was nurturing it. And I always thought, like, what, but she was so smart, and she was only in high school, and she already had that in her head that this is important. So, do you have a worst audition story or a bad audition story?
Well, I had a couple of times where the pianist just stopped playing. And I mean, and I'm glad now in retrospect that happened to me, because I can tell that to my students. I'm like, look, this is just proof that you have to go in there and know your piece cold, because you never know what that pianist might do. And it's it's a little bit of a test because you want to stop or you want to, scream at the pianist, but you have to keep going. And I think, for those 2 auditions, they at least saw that I was confident enough in what I was singing that I could keep going. And, because who knows within the show what's going to happen in the pit, or if you're singing with the track and it just stops, are you going to stop? It's all those questions. But in the moment, it's horrifying, just like, oh God, what's happening now? And I've had, I think we've all had moments where we've lost our words or something is cracked in there or whatever, but nothing tragic has happened to me yet. Yet.
That's great.
So I'm curious, both of you have directed, well, you're musical director. So if somebody came in and sang and the music got off and they got really upset and had a diva moment, would you just say, oh, I don't know if I'm going to cast that person, even though they got a great voice?
I would probably, if I was playing, I think I would say, just let's start again. Let's try this again. And I mean, there have been times when I've been playing and I have stopped because I realized something was very wrong and it was me. And I'm just like, we're going to stop because I am messing up bad. And let's help you.
Right.
But yeah, I have had people be a little just snippy with me or, want to blame me. Well, that is not the key I practiced in. And I'm like, well, that is not my fault.
Yeah.
That is not concern. This is what you handed me and this is what we're doing. But absolutely, you make a little mark by their name. And when we have the little table meeting at the end, those are always things I talk about.
Yeah.
Because that's not cool.
Is there a role you've always wanted to play, a musical role? I know you mentioned Evita.
Yes, and see, now I'm too old. I'll do a senior version of Evita. Yes, I would love to play that role because it's just special to me. Just my personal connection. As far as what I can play now, I would still love to play Diana in Next to Normal. And Jessica in Bridges of Madison County.
Oh yeah.
And Helen in Fun Home. I mean, these are all roles that I'm right age for and would love to have that opportunity to do it. I would still, I mean, I've been in Into the Woods. I played Rapunzel. And so I'd love a shot at the witch or the baker's wife too. Either one. Every role in that show is fantastic. So
I guess you're you're right in between the young and the older versions in Follies, right? Which is one of my favorite musicals.
Yes, I know. And so that one's a little, I would love to be in that one too, but I'm kind of, depending. Somebody.
Yeah.
So when you're on stage, acting or singing, what is the best type of actor to be on the stage with?
Someone better than me.
That is so great.
I mean, true, because in a lot of ways on the acting end of things, I feel like I'm still playing catch up a little bit because I feel like I came late to the party. So the times I have been able to work with, against whatever, people who I know have had a lot more experience than me, that I know are a lot more settled and seasoned, that always comforts me. I always feel like they're there to help me and lead me along and suggest, things if I'm just bombing or whatever. It's difficult the times when I know I'm the more experienced one, because that puts a lot of pressure on me that I don't want. But yeah, someone that you just have that trust with. And I mean, I think that's probably what everybody is saying, that, you can, if you go up, they're going to catch you and lead you, and it's not going to fall apart. Who's not going to panic on stage. I mean, I think that's what we all kind of want, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
We all have great moments on stage. Can you tell us one of your great moments and why?
Well, The role that I feel like at this point was the best suited for me and that I enjoyed in every way was I got to play Mother in Ragtime
Oh,
a few years ago. And, with every show, just putting that together, there were 2 casts. I mean, it's got things that happen with it, but I don't know. It was something about that role and just the music and everything. I got just a different feeling from it. It was a very complete kind of satisfying feeling where with other things, there's always questions of, oh, I wish I'd made these choices, or I wish, the set had been nicer, or, you think about the shows and what, just something that you want that made it to you better. But that was a show, as far as my performance and my connection with my other actors and the story, I just really felt a completeness, and I left that just as a great memory of, there it is. That's all I can give. That's all I can do right now. And I feel satisfied with that. And I think that's very important for all of us to have at least one of those kind of feelings. And there's been other ones too, but that's probably the biggest one so far.
Yeah, that was a great show. That was an amazing show.
Thanks.
Really, really. What's one of the funniest things that ever went wrong on the stage?
There's many of those. Just so many. Just a funny thing. When I did Into the Woods, this was at RLT. And they built me this huge tower, which was lovely, and had a circular staircase inside that I had to navigate every night 2 or 3 times with a very long dress and 14 feet of hair.
Oh.
That I would wrap around my arm and everything and try to carefully go up those steps. So I never tripped up the steps. But there's a point, and this was with Allison Lawrence, where she's calling to hand down my hair, and I go to hand it down, and there was a hook in there that my whole wig got wrapped around.
Oh.
And so I'm trying to unwrap the hair, and that moment, lasted maybe a minute, but it seemed like 4 hours because she's just waiting. And thank God it was Allison, because she's just ad-libbing and and making it funny. We just kind of made a bit of it, but I was like, if I rip this wig, the costumers are going to kill me.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
Trying not to break the hair and get the scene going. So that was one thing. There was another show where I tripped up a flight of stairs and landed between the stairs and a scrim. And so I was turned completely around. And a phone is ringing, and I'm supposed to get up the steps and answer this phone, and the sound person just kept hitting repeat. And the phone's ringing and ringing, and I'm trying to get myself up, and it's one of those things where it's dark, and I'm like, I don't know if I have blood running all down my leg. I don't know if I've ripped my dress. I don't know anything. I just have to get up and get on stage
and answer the phone.
Oh my God. And then I just could not stop laughing. I mean, I had to go through this very serious scene, and my leg is throbbing, and I still can't tell if I'm bleeding everywhere. And I got off, and I just could not stop laughing because people didn't realize what happened because it was in the dark. And so it was like, where were you? Why weren't you answering the phone? I'm like, because it was on the floor in between the screen and the stage.
Oh my God.
So I imagine you might have been on stage and you're trying to check if you got blood or if you tore your dress without being obvious.
Right.
And I wasn't bleeding. I had a huge bruise that took years to go away, but thank God I was not.
Oh my God. Well, I've told Larry this story, and I might have told it in another interview, but one of my favorite Mary Kathryn funny stories is when you did Once Upon a Mattress, and it was opening night, and you had that big tall hat, and during your song with Brent, it kept falling off your head, and you kept trying to put it back up, and he finally just grabbed it and held it the whole song. And it was that night, like I fell in love with him. I said, that is the kind of actor you want. Yeah.
I know. And I was so, you're so angry because you feel like you've got everything like it needs to be. And I could tell as soon as I started the scene, I could feel it slipping. I was like, oh, you're kidding me. I put 80 bobby pins in this. Like, are you kidding me? And so, you casually just try to like keep going. And yeah, I owe him for the rest of my life.
Because then you could concentrate and sing and not be panicked. And it just, really, my heart was just, I thought, what a man.
I'd be frightened to death because I would be fighting so hard to stay in key.
Right.
I mean, not someone who's a natural singer like you, because you can probably just not even think about it, but I'd be like, oh my God, I need one more distraction.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now, if you couldn't be a singer or teach musical lessons, was there anything else in the theater arts you would want to do?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I wish I had the ability to sew and make costumes. My grandmother was a gifted seamstress and probably should have been a designer, and that was not her path. But I did not inherit any of that. But I always thought it would really be cool to be a costume designer. I think they go a little underrated. I've always really appreciated the ones that I've had that took that effort to make me look nice on stage. But I'm very grateful that I get to teach and musical direct and kind of guide the children through this. It's exciting, and I think it has made me a stronger performer. With anything with this, when you have to turn around and explain how to do it or how to be calm in an audition and all of those things, you get to internalize that and think about what you're saying and how you reflect it or whatever. But yeah.
If you could go back in time and talk to the younger version of yourself when you first started performing, what advice would you tell yourself?
Calm down. Calm down. Oh my gosh. And just don't, I know very early I was trying to act, if that makes sense. Like my idea of what acting was, I was trying to act. And that is ridiculous. And I wish that someone had just, took me by the shoulders and gave me a good shake and said, this is stupid. That's not what you do. Don't do that. Or just calm down and not be so worried all the time about what are we doing? What's somebody thinking? Is this right? Is this wrong? Is someone going to be mad at me?
Right.
Ruining this whole show. It's just all of those kind of things, just to be more present in what was going on and not be so self-critical and worried about everything. It's just, I wasted years doing that stuff. And I mean, I'm sure a lot of other people, I remember Kevin in his interview talking about it took being in your 50s to realize some of these things. And it's just, that's just life though, I know, but it's frustrating.
I wonder if artists, we're the only ones that admit how self-critical we are of ourselves.
Maybe. I don't know.
I think because it's such a love to perform and it means so much to us and we identify it so much as who we are as people, to make mistakes, especially when you're younger, you feel like you make one mistake, you're done, right? Or everyone's judging you. And maybe that's it, because we're so passionate about it.
Sure. It means everything.
Right.
It means everything. Which is great. That makes you better. That makes you committed and all of that. But still, it's so hard not to just rip yourself apart. And I don't know.
What's the first thing you want to do when this summer gets by and we no longer have a virus and we can go back to normal? What's the first thing you hope to do?
Well, I definitely want to audition for something, but I really want to see something. I think during all of this, I realized it's been easy just with needing to teach, needing to make some, all the things my child's involved in, just all this, that, and the other. There's been a lot of shows that I have just let go by, and I have not made the effort to go see them. It's like, oh yeah, I'd like to see that. And then the weekend comes and you're like, oh, well, I'd just rather stay at home. And, it's just so easy to push it off because it's that thought of, well, there's always going to be shows. There's always going to be, it's going to come back around again, blah, blah, blah. And then this happened. And then, oh my goodness, it's not here at all. And the huge void that we all are having from that. So that has kind of just changed my way of thinking. And I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to put other things,
yeah.
And I want to make sure that I don't pass up things either, because it's easy to hear about an audition and you're like, oh, well, I'm not sure if I have time. I mean, that would mean I can't go on that trip or, all that stuff. And, oh my God, it's killing me. It's just killing me. The things that I knew were coming up that I was interested in, and now everything's just wiped away, of course. So yeah, I'm gonna make the effort.
Yeah, I watched Hamilton on Disney Plus, and I literally was crying the entire time. And of course, because of the show, but part of it because, wow, this is the way I have to see theater in my living room. And I mean, that was a beautiful job that they did. I was overwhelmed with how professional it looked, and you still got that it was a play. Like, it wasn't a movie. You still got that whole feel, and that was just a wonderful thing. And oh my God, the talent, but it made me miss theater more because of that.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
Do you tell Mark, shh, quiet, I'm watching the show?
He watched too.
You can pause it.
No. Oh my God. Well, Mary Kathryn, this has been so much fun. This is just, it's always wonderful when we get together. And I'm so glad that we were able to see you, even if it's just your face. And I really look forward to going out and hanging out again and working on a show together again. So.
I agree. Well, this is just so fun just to talk about theater. I mean, even though we cannot physically really do anything right now, just to talk about it, it just kind of rekindles those fires. And I know just reading through the questions and stuff that you sent and just thinking about things, it makes you realize what this means to you. And I don't know, I feel like a responsibility to keep this going.
I agree. And I know Larry and I always love it because then it reminds us of our own life, and we're like, oh yeah, that reminds me of the time, and
right. So. And it's interesting to hear how actors and other people just admit, their fear of making mistakes, how it affects how they are to work with and stuff like that. It's like, oh wow, I didn't know that about you.
Right. We think we're the only panicked ones.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I always tell people, it's like, Larry, you're so neurotic. I said, Kathleen says I'm passionate. I'm not neurotic.
It's true. It's true. But thank you again for joining us. And yes, and I look forward to seeing you again in the future.
Thank you.
Thanks, Larry.
Okay,
bye, guys.